contigo, solamente contigo. Kila siku nakuwaza, oh. Todo por tu amor, todo por tu amor. Nabaki kwa kupagawa, oh. Por tu amor, baby, you know me love you long, long time. Do the calypso, baby, dirty wine. Wine and right for you. Yeah, me wine and right for you.
Hey, long as I got you, girl, just know you're fine. Nasitaki mingine, mami, you're all mine, baby. All this love's for you. I know a couple things that we can do.
Calypso, unanipa raha, calypso, kili unaika, calypso, tu amor, calypso, unanipa raha, calypso, kili unaika, calypso.
Yeah, and now she bust shit, you think she was with the flip mo. You got me going crazy just by how them hips go. I told her I'm not a dancer, but she persists though. Guess I'ma lean back while you do the calypso. It'll be your time to lean back twice. No check your feet, it keep moto girl, I clean up nice. I got the bread and you need that slice. What I'm offering it for sure, you ain't seen that life. It's a kipindi, takugeuza mshindi. Jackpot, but do I say na siringi. Destination za kupeleka pia ni nyingi. Lunch Islando, dinner tukulie malindi.
Calypso, unanipa raha, calypso, kili unaika, calypso, tu amor, calypso, unanipa raha, calypso, kili unaika, calypso, ananipenda, navimba najikamba, ananitosha timilifu. Wanoko wanaona wevo, you never surrender. Mana tuko imara, mwanaume kamilifu, hakika ni muaminifu.
And if I told you ever kendo mami mina mind unaweza nyamine. I know they told you not to trust me but tukitafuta wezi pata kamime. And so see when I was in my shore, kamesema kitu utaki basi pole. So wechore ya mangati, rada yetu ni safi. I wanna make you happy.
Feel the freshness.
Yes, good afternoon. Hope you guys are doing amazing. Hope you had a beautiful weekend. And karibuni sana to yet another beautiful conversation of the Pan-African Bliss. My name is Joby and wishing you guys a beautiful week ahead. 17 minutes past the top of the hour. And of course, join me right here as we get to catch up on some news and conversation of what has been happening during the weekend. Apparently not so much, but still there is never lacking a conversation that we can always dwell into. Today we're going to be focusing on how the rich are getting richer as majority of the population who actually make up a country, in every country, every continent, how they are actually suffering. And our conversation shall be focused, of course, looking at number one, the history of Kenya Power. We know that actually this is one of the highest electricity in Africa. So we're going to be looking at how actually it ended up being super expensive. This comes in, of course, after a few weeks. 2 weeks ago, we had some power outage. That is the whole country, majority of the parts of the country. And it's crazy to see that actually apparently that one county had electricity, and this is because it is solar powered, not just actually not the whole county, but the streets of that particular county. It had electricity when majority of the nation's counties did not have electricity. But this is because the governor of that particular place is actually working. If this one person we know in Kenya, and we barely talk about it, who is actually working, is called Wamunyoro. And this guy has been actually doing super amazing. And he ensured that the people will not be experiencing blackout in the streets. They walk to their houses safe because he has ensured to put up solar-powered electricity. What is stopping the rest of the nation? Why can't we also do the same? So we're going to be looking at that as today's conversation, and also focus on actually, again, how these people, how everyone is struggling, but we have people who are getting richer. And in every angle, I have a video that we're going to be talking about that. And accordingly, actually, or rather to a surprise part of that conversation, we have global study, which has actually talked about inequality as part of the worst pandemics. And as if it is a surprise, I mean, they have been operating in an equal ground for the longest time. So what is actually super new and what should actually be surprising us. But yes, that is our conversation for today, and I hope you guys get to enjoy. And of course, wishing you guys again a beautiful, beautiful day. We're gonna be coming back with the quotes, not the quotes, but of course some supplements that you can get under our app. In case you're here for the first time, karibu sana once again. Feel much more welcome by subscribing on these amazing channels that you're streaming live with us from. And you can also always stay connected with us throughout the weekend, throughout the week. In case you're not able to stream live every single day, you can catch the shows on a replay. Just ensure you have the app on your phone, which you can find on the Google Play. So in case you're using an iPhone, rather a laptop, you can use our website link. Very easy for you to actually stream also with us, www.blackoutfirenetwork.com. But we have amazing supplements that you can grab for you to keep healthy. Being a beautiful week, a beautiful month, I hope it's taking you amazing. Ensure you actually prioritize your health. It's something very, very important. Very, very, very important. I think people, again, I'll keep on saying, people underestimate just being healthy. It's really, really important. Super, super important. So ensure you actually check on yourself. But yes, with that being said, beetroot, we have some beetroot, we have some multivitamin, we have some ashwagandha, but Brain and Focus for these conversations always does amazing magic. And we'll be coming back after this and more explanation of how it helps
Unlock your full
boost your
potential
focus.
with Brain and Focus, a powerful supplement designed to boost mental clarity, enhance memory, and sharpen concentration. Made from a blend of scientifically proven ingredients like ginkgo biloba, omega-3, and essential vitamins, Brain and Focus is crafted to fuel your mind. Our process ensures maximum potency and effectiveness, delivering the perfect balance of brain-boosting nutrients. Take just one capsule daily, as prescribed by your healthcare provider, and feel the difference. Whether it's powering through your workday or staying sharp in life's challenges, Brain and Focus keeps you at the top of your game. Stay sharp, stay focused, and stay ahead with Brain and Focus. Brain and Focus, fuel your mind, achieve more. Go get this product at blackhotfirenetwork.com at the Sports and Nutrition Store.
Exactly, it's a very affordable price. Last week, I shared a very amazing documentary, rather a short video explaining about industrialization in Africa, where we're still lagging behind, and looking at countries like China, how they've been able to actually, gone ahead of us. While actually, if you look at just few years ago, these people were literally in poverty. And we talked about how, again, Africa has been kept in this trap, which is called the debt, by the IMF, the World Bank, and then comes in China with a special offer, in quotes, with better interest, in quotes. And we saw the consequences of this better interest, which will end up giving some of the actually public-owned companies, which is actually leading to privatization and so many things, including also your raw resources, the rare earth resources, talking about cobalt, lithium, gold, silver, so many things that actually China and even oil, they're benefiting of Africa. And you ask yourself how these countries have been able to actually, of course, why are they ahead of us? You can see these are people who are building, not only stealing from you, they are building. The problem with Africa is that we're not building. There's a lot of theft when it comes to our political system. I talked about corruption. Shout out to Jibajaba. He said that it's deep than something last week. But yes, I talked about how corruption is so deep in Africa, and it's really, really crazy to see how these people just squander money and they don't put this money into the proposed projects. Because if you look at like our current finance bill 2026-2027, a lot of funds are being quoted there. But you ask yourself, what is it that we're doing as a country to actually, where are we going to get all this money, What are we doing as a country that can ensure us or give us a sure bet that there's something or this money is going to be generated from this particular sector because we're actually been working, and we've been gaining profits from it. And we can build this part of the country or this project with this money without going back to the IMF or the World Bank or even China, or Russia, because there's always a better option, in quotes, right? So we talked about that, and it's the same bullshit. So today, we're going to be looking at how Kenya Power, basically, because last week, 2 weeks ago, if you guys can remember, on one of the Wednesdays, lights went out, and we discovered this actually happened the whole nation. So just wanted to give you a backstory of how this is nothing to do with too much power, less power, and how it became super expensive. This is all being done on purpose.
Kenya has some of the most abundant and diverse clean energy resources on the continent. It has geothermal steam deep underground, fast-flowing rivers, strong and steady winds, and sunshine all year round.
Which I'll stop just by there. When you talk about the rivers, we're seeing that damaging the rivers. We have the Chinese again. The same people with better option, better interest, collaboration, cooperation, nonsense. These people are damaging our rivers. Again, last week on Monday, I shared an interesting documentary coming from the western parts of Kenya, where we saw one of the largest rivers that connects actually 3 counties, how it's being destroyed. And not only that, but how it's actually, they're also damaging people's lands without giving a shit, because someone on top is giving a yes tick and an agreement for this to be done without any consequences.
2022, a remarkable 88% of Kenya's electricity came from renewable sources, placing the country among global leaders in clean energy. Yet, despite all this, electricity in Kenya remains amongst the most expensive in Africa, consistently in the top 3. Kenyans pay between 25 and 30 shillings per unit. That's 5 times more than what Ethiopians pay and more than double the cost in neighboring Tanzania. To put this into perspective, Devki Group, one of Kenya's largest manufacturers, spends between 700 and 9 million shillings every single month on electricity bills alone.
How much do you pay in electric bills a month, plus minus?
When there is a low season, we pay 700 million per month.
That's an Indian. Again, these people just invaders in our countries, and they have the audacity of even complaining. Go sit somewhere in India and let's see how it is. Does India even have full lights or full operational lights, electricity all the time? Because don't complain while you're in Kenya as an invader. You participated in actually what we're going through as a country, big time in many angles, and having the audacity of complaining. Go fix your country first and then come tell us what to do.
To Kenya Power.
700 million shillings.
When it is low season. Otherwise, we pay 800 to 900 million Kenya shilling every month.
What Devki pays for just 1 month of electricity in Kenya could power the same operations in Ethiopia for well over 6 months.
Theft.
This cost is one of the main reasons why many manufacturers in Kenya either shut down, scale down, or shift to importing instead.
So what is even crazy is that it's expensive and it's not even sustainable. That's even the worst part. Of course, as an investor too, I'd run away. I don't want to keep on wasting my money here, and I'm paying too much already, while I barely get to get service of whatever I'm paying too much for. Of course, as an investor too, I'm going to run away. It's too costly, but cannot even sustain itself, or it's not sustainable monthly for it to give me the profit or give me enough money for me to keep on paying it back. It's not making any sense.
Of producing locally. For smaller businesses, it's simply impossible to power their operations efficiently. The price of electricity becomes the barrier. It also drives away foreign investors. Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, for instance, chose Ethiopia over Kenya for his cement manufacturing plant, likely for this very reason. In this episode, we'll look at how Kenya Power was systematically captured and turned into a vehicle for systemic looting, from electricity production and inflated fuel charges to complex contracts throughout the entire energy system, all culminating in Kenyans paying some of the highest bills on the continent.
Because it is true. I believe that there has been a lot of cloud in that particular manner, resulting in us signing agreements that have cost this country heavily.
signing agreements, which is part of contributing. The current regime is part of contributing. Kibaki is part of contributing. Moi is part of contributing. And so is Dad. All the 5 presidents. They have been part of contributing deals and agreement. That's why I keep on saying exactly. Ruto, you know what is funny with Uhuru Kenyatta? One thing about Uhuru Kenyatta, when you listen to his speeches, he used to give us the truth, but it's like it's up for you to whatever you want to do with that information. We have a common say like that in Kenya, right? Chenye utataka kufanya na hiyo information ni shauri yako. You know, whatever I've told you, let's say if I say something in parables, it's up to you to quote it, analyze it how you want. It's none of my business. That is just a Kenyan phrase. So that is so Uhuru Kenyatta. And actually that phrase became so common during his time. Whatever you want to do with that information, it's up to you. That is up to you. He's good at actually giving you the truth you want to, the truth you're looking for. But it's up to you to figure out if he's telling you the truth or lies. Does it make sense? It's crazy. So that's Uhuru Kenyatta. Because he told us so many things, but in parables. So you guys figure out what you want to do with that information.
Be sure
I'm not going to admit like he's part of contributing to this mess. No.
to like the video if you enjoy it and subscribe to the channel for more electric stories from Kenya. The East African Power and Lighting Company, established in 1922, initially served Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda before narrowing its focus strictly to Kenya. In 1983, the government restructured it into a state-owned entity and renamed it Kenya Power and Lighting Company, KPLC. By the early 1990s, Kenya, like many African countries, was undergoing major economic changes. Facing financial struggles, the Kenyan government turned to the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank for support.
The first mistake, of course. There's always the first mistake. And that's why I love saying, let's go back to the agreement. Man. And it was said even when I was sharing the documentary of Moi, how this man was leading this country ruthlessly. Let's go back to the agreement that was signed by Jomo Kenyatta, you guys. And the first president of this country. Whatever is in those papers is whatever keeps us in this particular state till to date. And we will never, unless we're able to fight this, we'll keep on living like this. We will keep on having the same problems and even getting worse. I remember my dad telling me one day, and of course, because we had differences here and there, problems here and there, I was like, man, you think my experiences are your experiences? What the hell are you telling me that the economy is going to be worse during my time? You know, just because you're struggling doesn't mean I'm going to struggle. Because for me, being honest, I was always like, and always will be, a positive-minded person. No matter how life gets so bad, I believe it gets better. You know? But the reality hits me now. It's my time of me paying bills, living by myself, trying to get to my comfortable zone. And it's still not enough. You wake up, the prices are changing every day. Whatever price you bought sugar yesterday, it's not the same price you bought sugar literally the time I was in high school, the time I was in primary. It's totally different. It's totally different. We have to go back. If only these papers can be put on site, I swear. The same way we've had so many leakages of many documents, many written papers of these people's agenda when it comes to us. I hope these papers can leak. Because Africa is not supposed to be, literally Africa is not supposed to be free at all. We're just supposed to keep on working for white people till the days of our lives. Like till death do us apart. For real, in the name of Christianity. Shout out to one Kenyan guy. I've been following him on Instagram. Man, that guy is really teaching people. And sadly, I was looking at some of the comment section. And some people are just so dumb. Some people are just so mind brainwashed to the point they don't know how to change their thinking. And I understand it's a lot of damage that has been done to us historically, but it's crazy. It's really crazy how these people forced us Christianity, because he explains how we had concentration camps, and these concentration camps, most of them have been turned into schools today in majority of the places in Kikuyu regions, where the Mau Mau literally, of course, came up from the Kikuyu regions, the Kikuyu places, and how they used to actually do like some 3 holes on the door so that they can see the outside world. He's really educating so much. And then when you agreed to call the white people my lord and be nice and agree to learn Christianity, they'll let you free from that particular prison, and then they take you to now where they are forcing you, of course, Bible studies. This is why we have Bible study bullshit. This is literally where we have the Bible study bullshit. Oh my God. I've been learning so much from that guy, and it's been making me connect also so many dots that I've not been maybe knowing, or just giving me much knowledge about all this colonizational thing. Like, if you agree to become the white man's puppet and what it is today, you're taken to a certain room where you're told Bible studies. And we have Bible studies today, you guys, as part of our schools. Because now these concentration camps, most of them again, like you can hear, they became schools. I'm going to share a compilation of his videos. It's just that he's talking in Swahili sometimes, most of the times. I wish he was using English to just reach a wider range of people. It's really, really crazy. So based on this, there's always a problem, because this is just few years after our so-called fake independence, and we're already borrowing money.
But this help came with strings attached to ensure that Kenya could actually repay its debt.
Of course.
Through a series of reforms called structural adjustment programs, the IMF and the World Bank pushed Kenya to reduce government control over the economy. This meant selling off state-owned companies, cutting subsidies, and encouraging private businesses to take over public services.
Nothing new. Nothing new. There's an old saying which says there's nothing new in this world. Maybe you're new to it, but there's nothing new. And I believe it now every time I read about political stuff, or when I'm sharing about political stuff, because there's nothing new. We're the ones now experiencing it. But if you go back to history, and that's why they don't want us to learn history, you understand actually this has been the same pattern. There's nothing new. Nothing new. Their war tactics might be new, but it's the same people. They might come up with new terrorist names, but they're the same people. There's nothing new. They might have a different president. Yes, we might have elections, but it's the same people. Nothing new. Or subsidies, same economy. Nothing new. Totally nothing new.
The idea was to make the economy more competitive and efficient by opening it up to private players. These changes had far-reaching effects. For instance, the rise of matatus came about after the government relaxed its grip on the public transport system. Around the same time, major state-owned companies that we've covered on the channel, like Mumias Sugar, Kenya Airways, and Uchumi Supermarkets, were partially or fully privatized. Kenya Power.
Funny thing, he has done all these videos. I need to check actually the rest too, because I never understood the fall of so many of the companies he's mentioned, like Uchumi Supermarket. That was one of the most affordable, because Uchumi means, how do I say, it's cost friendly. Uchumi in Swahili means cost friendly. That was the most affordable supermarket anyone could enter. Mind you, today there are people who have never entered a supermarket, leave alone a mall. There are people who have never entered a supermarket, you think it's a joke, go outside and ask. Just walk around, come to Africa and ask. There's so many people who have never stepped into a supermarket. And if they have, maybe to glance and walk out. But they've never shopped in a supermarket because things are expensive. Hey.
Was no exception. In 1996, the government decided to follow this national shift and sold off a portion of KPLC. During this privatization, the government quietly exempted Kenya Power from the State Corporations Act.
Now, and which today when you ask Google, has Kenya Power been privatized? Google tells you what? No. Kenya Power, the Kenya Power and Lightning Company, has not been fully privatized. So you mean partially? It was never saying fully. So now they're saying fully. Few months ago, when I was checking all these privatized companies, when Ruto especially became a president, Google has always been lying to me. So now has not been fully privatized, has been added. Okay. It means a publicly listed company where the government of Kenya retains a majority controlling stake of 50.1%, while the private investor holds the remaining of 41.9% through the Nairobi Security Exchange.
The law that keeps parastatals accountable. KPLC's board could now operate freely without treasury approval for key decisions. It became a state-owned company with private company privileges. This was the original sin. In 1997, Kenya experienced a severe drought that dried up its hydroelectric dams, which were the country's main electricity source at the time. Power generation collapsed, causing frequent blackouts that disrupted homes, businesses, and factories.
We had power outages like a nonsense. Absolutely. It was disconcerting. In fact, you even when the government, the Kenya Power announced there would be power outages, there were others that they hadn't announced.
With the 1987 elections approaching, the government was under intense pressure to restore power quickly. The solution came through independent power producers, private companies that will generate electricity and sell it to KPLC. Companies like Westmont Power and IBA Africa were brought in as emergency solutions to the crisis, but their real purpose was to extract maximum profit from the situation. This was possible because Samuel Gishoro, KPLC's managing director, the very person signing contracts on behalf of the company, partially owned Westmont.
Wow. See? It's always some bullshit. It's always some bullshit. So the same person who is the managing director of Kenya Power owns Westmont Power, but comes in as the one who's supposed to... Wow. I'm telling you, you cannot. This is the level, and it gets even worse. Trust me, if we were to do documentaries of corruption, it's going to literally explode. We as citizens, I was watching yesterday, I was watching a vlog of a certain lady I follow from Kenya, and she was complaining about when actually it was a vlog of the time when it was raining, and she was complaining about how these politicians just take money. They never actually improve our road projects, but there's always like money for road projects every single time. But every time it's raining, it's flooding. People with cars, they are suffering and all that. I'm like, girl, I feel you. Every time we talk about politics in this country, you must get frustrated. You must just be mad. And sadly, now to understand it's globally. This political system is not designed to work to favor the people. This is corruption. This man should be behind bars. But if you follow up today where he is, somewhere sitting pretty flexing, enjoying the billions of money he squandered off what we're suffering off today. Okay.
Other owners included Kamlesh Patni, notorious for the Golden Bag scandal, and Crispas Mutitu, the Energy Permanent Secretary. Energy Minister Chris Okemo, who served during this crucial period in the late 90s and early 2000s, provided political protection and legitimacy, ensuring the insider group controlled both sides of every deal. These companies secured take-or-pay contracts, agreements that forced KPLC to pay fixed amounts for 20 to 30 years, whether electricity was actually used or not. To put this into perspective, imagine your car breaks down and you decide to use Uber for a while as it's being fixed. But then, after your car is fully repaired and running perfectly, you're still forced to keep paying for that Uber every single day to be on standby outside your house for the next 30 years, whether you use it or not. And if you try to cancel this arrangement, you have to pay a penalty that in KPLC's case could be up to 30 billion shillings. The contract's heavy termination penalties effectively locked KPLC into one-sided deals for decades that mostly benefited the IPPs and their owners. The scandal came to light when Gishuru's marriage fell apart. In explosive divorce court documents, his late ex, Salome Njeri, revealed his vast multi-billion shilling empire. 71 prime locations across Nairobi, Nakuru, and Mombasa, large shares in 23 companies, including parastatals like KPLC and Kenya Bus Services. He had multiple bank accounts, including a secret account in Jersey. The divorce revelations led to investigations which showed that while serving as KPLC's managing director, Gishuru had set up a company called Windward Trading Limited in Jersey, once seen as a tax haven. Gishuru used fake directors to hide his ownership of this company. The scheme was straightforward. Foreign companies wanting contracts with KPLC will inflate their prices to include kickbacks, then send the extra payments to Windward as fake consultancy fees, effectively channeling public money into Gishuru's private accounts. Crucially, when these schemes were being created, money laundering was not a criminal offense in Kenya. This allowed Gishuru and his accomplices to operate for years with total impunity. The international investigations eventually exposed the full extent of the corruption, leading to money laundering charges and a 2011 UK arrest warrant for both Gishuru and Okemo.
Will be taken forward seriously and expeditiously.
According to the Jersey Island documents, Okemo and Gishuru used proxy companies to make over 902 million shillings and stashed the money at the island 10 years ago. The extradition of Okemo and Gishuru is seen as a trade-off between Kenya and the United Kingdom, where Kenya was to surrender the two in exchange for runaway fugitive Yagnesh Devani, wanted in Kenya over the Triton oil scandal. Okemo and Gishuru had earlier moved to court to challenge the legality of the case against them, with Okemo arguing that the allegations of money laundering against him were not a crime in Kenya at the time they were alleged to have been committed. It is likely that Okemo and Gishuru will come to the courts to block the extradition orders sought by the Director of Public Prosecutions. However, with the external pressure surrounding this case, it is clear that Okemo and Gishuru can as well prepare for their day in court at the island Jersey.
By 2005, the corruption had evolved beyond individual actors. The next generation of power sector insiders built something far more sophisticated, a corruption machine that controlled every step of Kenya's electricity system. Where earlier schemes relied on bribery and offshore accounts, the new players created an integrated network that manipulated the entire supply chain. A good example of this evolved corruption was Gulf Power Limited, launched in 2014. Instead of just overcharging for electricity, the corrupt network had learned to control the entire supply chain. Gulf Power generated electricity using heavy fuel oil, But instead of buying this fuel from independent suppliers at market rates, it sourced fuel from a related company, Gulf Energy. The same group controlled both sides of the transaction. They were literally selling fuel to themselves and marking up every step.
Imagine.
What made this arrangement even more brazen was that Gulf Energy held an 80% shareholding in Gulf Power at the time of the 2014 tender. This created an obvious conflict of interest that should have disqualified the arrangement entirely. Yet, Kenya Power's oversight completely ignored this glaring issue. Gulf Energy also supplied other thermal IPPs like Thika Power with the same overpriced heavy fuel. The ownership structures remained deliberately opaque. Instead of Jersey proxies, these players used Mauritius. Gulf Power's true ownership was obscured through the Mauritius-registered Gallant Power Limited. In 2023, the Senate Energy Committee made explosive allegations about who really controlled Gallant Power.
The shareholding of Gulf Energy was of particular interest to the committee.
Should I put it to you that some of the owners of this Gallant include the former PSs, the former CS of Energy, and some very prominent Kenyans? That's why you'll not be wanting to mention their names here. Would we be aware that former PS Nyoike owns part of it, former PS Joroge owns part of it, former CS Kiraito owns part of it? Would you be in a position to know?
Norman Munyiri would vehemently deny this claim just moments after asserting that he was not privy to the owners of Gallant Power Limited, a shareholder of Gulf Power.
These were key officials who had been involved in Kenya's energy procurement decisions and were now alleged to be profiting from the same system they helped oversee. The corruption went even deeper.
Good morning. Do me a favor, Joby. Do me a favor. Good morning. Get on, man. Do me a favor. Gulf Power. This is how insidious this is. Gulf Power. I know this is true. Gulf Power is an American company and used to be the company out of Florida. Look this up, Joe. We say it's Gulf Energy because they got sold off. They don't exist, but they got bought out. Say it's Gulf Energy out of the Florida, Georgia area. Gulf Power was a subsidiary of Georgia Power. That used to be my power company. I know it's American because you're going to have one named that, be named that company. Say it was Gulf Energy out of Florida in America.
Yes.
Yeah. And when you guys look at your thing, I said, Gulf Power? What? Oh my God, this corruption is so deep. These white people don't ever stop with these open. Oh my God, I know it. I'm sitting there looking at Joey's documentary. I heard Gulf Power. What? They're in Kenya? Stealing, white people stealing from the black Africans. I said, God damn. Gulf Power's out of Florida. Gulf Energy's out of Florida. It was the Florida Energy Gulf. Oh my God. Yeah, that's why shit don't work in Africa. You get a couple goopy niggas. White people come and say, hey, we'll get some crumbs. We're going to steal it all. We're going to charge all your people all this money. And it won't work. See, but Gulf Power knew they had to keep the lights on here in America. People would come for them and say they got to go. In Africa, you got blackouts and all kind of crazy stuff. But wow. Yo, I said, what? So listen to Joey's documentary. I said, Gulf Power. That's in Florida. But go ahead, Joey.
To benefit scheme owning a 10% stake in Gulf Power, creating a bizarre closed loop where every payment Kenya Power made to Gulf Power for expensive electricity.
These white people saying we're going to exploit these dumb niggas again. This is white people. So we're going to exploit these morons. No reason for Gulf Power in Florida to be in control of Kenya's power. This is fucking crazy. It's like these black men. were disturbingly stupid. Go ahead, James.
Partially cycled back into Kenya Power's own pension fund.
Senator Edwin Sifuna taking issue with shareholding of KPLC staff retirement benefits scheme in Gulf Power Limited, terming it a potential conflict of interest.
You agree with me that a reduction in your profits is a reduction in their dividends.
Then they buy out all these niggas and they like say, like, is this global? Buy out all these niggas and all these morons. Mostly Kenyans are uneducated. Their damn their parliament are stupid. They're morons. The white people exploit these idiots, pay them a few dollars, and then come and take over all of Kenyan power and just steal. So that's what white people do. That's their nature. Steal all your shit. And your people in poverty, nothing developed, and you just get these goofy Negroes a couple crumbs. Oh, I got me a new big old car now, and I got a house. Yeah, they come exploit all of it. This is absolutely, goddamn, power.
And their earnings from the company as shareholders.
I agree that it affects everyone, not just the pension fund.
Yeah, so my brother, that is called conflict of interest.
With this lucrative thermal power.
Stealing their pension funds. Jesus. You know, white people so evil. They just rape, they come and just rape you blindly, just get all of it. And they'll say, well, the goofy niggas that they stupid. You know, we steal everything from them. Not our fault they have low IQs and stupid. Remember what they say? Black people have low IQ. My fault they're stupid. They ain't even stealing the pension funds. Go ahead.
Bracket established, the corruption network faced a new threat: genuinely good renewable energy projects that could undercut their profits. The Lake Turkana wind power project represented exactly this kind of danger. As the largest private project in Kenya's history, worth over 70 billion shillings, it brought 365 wind turbines to harness one of Africa's most powerful wind corridors. The project made economic sense. It will generate clean electricity from abundant wind resources at a fraction of what thermal plants charge.
Cut up on them stealing and white people. See, that's why Africa doesn't work. It's not that Africans know how to do power. They make sure it doesn't work because it stops their stealing. They're stealing. They don't want this to work right. They want the money to go to them to keep stealing from African people. So if you build something, an alternative to it, they're going to destroy it. So they can keep stealing from Africans. It's fucking crazy. That's why Africa.
The wind farm even offered the discounts if certain thresholds were met, potentially driving costs down for consumers. However, the government failed to complete the transmission line needed to evacuate the power from the remote wind farm to Kenya's national grid in time, leaving the project unused for years. While the exact reasons remain unclear,
they didn't fail because their white masters say do not put it together because we're stealing money from you dumb niggas. This will work and give people electricity that stays on, and it'll cut their energy price, and it'll cut us out of us being a parasite and stealing from you goofy niggas. That's not going to be accepted. So I'm going to put my fake MPs in here, and you're going to vote against this. Make sure it don't work. He said it's not sure why they didn't do it. You know why they didn't do it? Because you're going to steal from white people. The white man wants his money. That's why you didn't do it. See, it worked. Absolutely not.
Biggest beneficiaries of this delay were undoubtedly the thermal IPPs, who could continue their profitable operations without competition from cheaper alternatives.
Exactly.
Even when the electricity couldn't reach consumers.
You asked a question. No, the India work. No, India's fucked up. They don't think they're Indians no more, Joby. They've been in Kenya. They say they're Kenyans. You can't send me back to no India. I don't care about no India. Does India have power? Completely no. India, everywhere these Indians go, they fuck up shit. They can't build either. You seen India? India don't work. That's why people try to get their ass out of their country. In America, and in Canada, everybody want these Indians out. The British brought them to Africa. They can't never build shit. Go to India. It's fucked up. You have common power in India? No. Trash everywhere. They shit in the street. And they're thieves. That's who these people are. But, of course, Africans worship them. They don't know their history. These people thieves everywhere they go.
Kenyans still had to pay for it in the familiar take or pay agreements. By 2019, taxpayers had already paid more than 24 billion shillings in penalties for energy they never used.
Yeah, but say shit they never
Even
got.
after
Imagine.
Lake Turkana was eventually connected.
I'm saying, even as an investor, if let's say I'm paying all this amount of money and shit that never works, I'll run away too. I'll be forced to run away because there's no I'm spending so much on electricity, but it's never even on. It's never stable. Goes out for 2 days or in a week and not even stay on. But I have electricity bills coming super high. It's not even making any sense.
And producing cheap.
I really pity people who still use meters, man, because there's some landlords who have refused to change that, because that's where they also steal the money from. They charge you high electricity that you've not used because you're too dumb to go read a meter, understand how many units you.
Wait, hold on, Joe. Most people know how to read meters. Most people know how to read a meter, Joey. How am I read the meter?
To read electricity meters, like the landlord does that thing, you know. There are people, and we're not even allowed to do that. Like me, I can't even go to the caretaker. Like,
you're not supposed to touch it. Exactly.
Can I go read my electricity meter? I mean, yeah, we use tokens, it's different, but can I go read my water meter? Hell no, I can't even do that. They tell you how much you've used.
Neither can I.
So there are people who actually take advantage of that, and they charge people so much. You'll find someone paying more than $10 every month on electricity they have not even used, which is super crazy.
In electricity during peak wind conditions, Kenya Power will curtail it, essentially ordering the wind farm to stop generating power.
What Joe be showing, this scam is going to be Africa-wide because these niggas are stupid. This scam, remember, all African countries their power don't work because there's going to be some scams like this in Ghana. Nigeria, the worst. I don't know how you even live in Nigeria without throwing the government. Don't nothing work in that goofy country. But they can't keep the lights on at all, ever. So the scams, and they got all these resources. Scams are crazy. Good, Joe.
We Kenyans can get up to 50% of or discount on purchase of electricity. But Kenya Power, the dispatcher there, has never hit that threshold from that IPP. That IPP is a green source, you know. They produce using wind. They have complained to us that most of the time they are curtailed. They're told, slow down on production, and then priority is given to.
They slow it down because it'll lower the prices, and our black savage ass niggas won't get their cut, and the white man won't get his overall money. They're told to put the foot on the off the gas so they won't send as much electricity that Kenya needs. So Kenyans can't keep the lights on. It's just the schemes and scams of giving people free money.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
Other expensive sources of turmoil. Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
By 2020,
see, if this happened in China, all these niggas gonna have a bullet in their head. All of them will be killed. See, the problem also with Africa, they never hold none of these niggas accountable. All these people that devised this scam, if this was devised in China, they all have an unmarked grave and a bullet in their head. Every last one of them. They all be shot in the head and thrown in the ditch. That's one thing I do like about China. You do this kind of shit in China, you know what's coming. They got a bullet in the head. They got a bullet with your name on it. And you're going in the ditch. You're not going to do this kind of shit in no China. They're coming to see you. Go ahead, Joe.
Absurdity reached its peak. Kenya Power, a monopoly with 8 million customers and no competition, was making losses. By 2021, the theft had become so bold that even the most powerful office in the land decided to act. President Uhuru Kenyatta appointed a presidential task force with a seemingly impossible promise: cut electricity tariffs.
This kind of theft is so mind-blowing that these African men are like retarded. The theft that white people do on these African people is it's so pervasive. It's so grossly and they laugh. White people, yeah, we got these things, but still all that money keep in the dark, but naked and broke. motherfucker. It's just because it's remember they're also their bribery in there is based on cruelty to African people because they hate us. You know, it shit's be crazy. Not a theft. Go ahead, Joe.
By 33% within 4 months. They declared Kenya Power a special government project, launched forensic audits, and began forcing renegotiations with independent power producers. For the first time in decades, someone with real power was taking on the machine. When the team cracked open Kenya Power's books, they found exactly what every Kenyan suspected but had never seen proven in black and white. Kenya was indeed locked into contracts with expensive power producers across the board.
Yep.
Triumph Power Generating Company, the worst example, was charging 156 shillings per kilowatt, more than 30 times what Kenyan.
Steal your shit. That's why I was going to come privatize your private companies so white people can overcharge you. Shit don't get better and charge more money for shit not to work right, but it still goes to all in the white people's hands. This is the scam all throughout Africa. This is the scam. CSC in Ghana. This is what even Torre is breaking in Burkina Faso. That's why they want him dead. This is what this example Joe be showing is not Kenya. This is all of Black Africa, all of it. This is why the power don't stay on in Black Africa, because the theft is so pervasive. Go ahead, Joe.
Kenya's cheapest geothermal plants charged at around 5 shillings. But by December 2021, that promised 33% reduction had failed to materialize. The machine had been designed to survive exactly this kind of an attack.
You see all these goopy niggas with these goopy European outfits on. This is what always look crazy. This is with the wigs. They got this goopy British shit on, and white people laugh. Have you ever been around white military? I've been in the military. They laugh like shit, these goopy niggas. Like I said, another thing, even Torres don't want to change these goopy out. You've seen these niggas in Tanzania, Angola, Nigeria, Ghana, with these same goopy European outfits on. And the white man laughs like hell at this shit. Look at these dumb, they call them monkeys. Look at these monkeys in these military suits that we made for their ass. This should be crazy. You got 65 years of independence, but you won't change these British outfits. You won't try to just make something African with dignity. This should be crazy. Go ahead.
Through those 20 to 30 years, power purchase agreements. When the government tried to renegotiate, some IPPs simply said no. Others agreed with modest reductions that barely moved the needle. Breaking the contracts without negotiating would trigger penalty clauses worth tens of billions of shillings, making it more expensive to dismantle the system than to keep feeding it.
They weren't controlled by white people. You just do it. Like Ibram Trade, that's why they need to kill Ibram. You just say, we're not paying none of this shit. These contracts were all fake and phony. They're all predatory, and we're not going to pay none of it. It ain't nothing you can do, but they're going to tell them, they're going to whisper in Kenyatta's ear, hey, you know, Al-Shabaab's up there, and we'll just run these motherfuckers in your country and start killing people. You changing these contracts, we'll start a civil war between your goopy tribes. We know how tribal your countries are. We kept them tribal. You did too. We told you keep them tribal for your power. So we'll put the Kikuyu against the Luo against the Kamba. We'll just cause all kind of shit in your country. So you really want to go down this route? Is what you really want to do? You know we got CIA running all through your country. So we'll overthrow your ass. So you're not going to touch nothing. You'll shut your fucking mouth. Go ahead, Joe.
The pattern repeated itself everywhere reformers tried to strike. Senator Edwin Sifuna's Energy Amendment Bill proposed mandating that Kenya Power buy from cheap green generators first and require disclosure of who really owns these power companies before issuing licenses.
Exactly.
But as of 2025, the bill remains trapped in Senate.
Of course, because they are paid.
Even on foreign.
Of course, it remains in the Senate. These are, understand, these goopy niggas don't run shit. They're the puppets of white people. These goopy niggas here, they don't run shit, but they mouth. White people behind this. And so that's why they can't, the bill never goes nowhere to help African people, because they're all bought and paid for. You know, they got secret accounts. Who owns the banks? Think the banks don't know they steal it? These niggas don't own none of these offshore banks. Who owns the banks? Oh, the cats with the hats on all banks on this planet. So they know they're shipping that money overseas because remember, money transaction, you must have information where this money's coming from. Remember, he said, I can't be, in this show, this nigga said, I can't be charged because the Kenyans were too stupid when I was money laundering, which is legal, to have money laundering laws. He said the Kenyans were too dumb back then to even have money laundering laws. What this nigga right here said on the left. They were too, we don't have money laundering laws when I was stealing money. Not the fact that he wasn't stealing it. We didn't have no books on, we didn't have no laws on the books about me stealing it. So we know who owns the banks. And you must identify, you must identify every bank, everything over $10,000, where it's coming from. So I told you the banks know when these guys are money laundering because they want the money. The cats with the hats know what's going on. And then when they don't play ball, what do they do with these niggas' accounts? They do a Kanye on, they freeze them. They say, nope, your money's not yours no more. You don't have no access to it. They freeze their accounts. So go ahead, Joby.
Governments did the work for Kenya. Nothing really changed. In 2016, judge courts.
You guys ain't even dead. They're supposed to be taken out. If you're a government like Kenyatta or who, they're supposed to be taken out, put in jail. But nah, I want the China way. Nah, I ain't going to jail. You ain't sitting in no jail. You're going in a ditch. Go ahead, Joby.
Convicted Windward and seized over 520 million in dirty money. In 2021, Kenya received the repatriated funds, but did nothing.
Especially the generation, they coming out of cloning. Most of these guys are dumb, come from goopy villages, never had no money, and so they now got suits on. They get to hobnob with white people. White people manipulate these morons to steal everything from their own people, and they don't care. Because they also, not only that they're stupid, these motherfuckers are immoral. And this you see all throughout Africa. That's why Africa got all these old ass leaders, old as shit, because their minds have never been decolonized. None of their minds, remember, these niggas all grew up under colonialism and got the white man's penis in their mouth throughout Africa. All of them do. So they don't mind serving white mom and white daddy. They get a little bit. And then in Africa, there's no accountability. So you know they're not going to get a bullet in their head, which Ibram said he's going to do now. Thank God to him. Caught you stealing money from the people, it's a bullet in your head. Not going to jail. Remember, Ibram brought back the death penalty in Burkina Faso for corruption, which the white people, oh, no, don't do that. You must be able to corrupt these niggas so we can steal. No, I catch you stealing. It's a bullet in the head, and it's an empty, and it's a shallow ditch for your ass. Go ahead.
No arrests, no charges. Gishoro's extradition was delayed on medical grounds. Today, Kenya pays the most for electricity in East and Central Africa, despite having the world's best renewable resources. The technical solutions exist. Kenya's wind, solar, and geothermal could deliver some of the world's cheapest electricity. The infrastructure is largely already in place. What's missing is the political will to break the chains that
Kenya can't have manufacturing today. They got the infrastructure already built, but it's so cool. Oh my God, you can't say, well, Kenya's got the infrastructure. They got the infrastructure. This is so wild. And most Kenyans don't even know. You know, you don't have to be sitting in the dark, nigga. You know, you know this is because of corruption. You know, you got the infrastructure already built. And not only that you should be sitting in the dark, that your electricity should be a whole lot cheaper because you already got the grid built. Wow, this is on another level. Crazy.
It is crazy. Karibu sana Joe Mosquito, Byron Scott. But yes, that is just a background story showing you how our Kenyan electricity has been hijacked. That is literally all the way since the 90s, literally the 80s, when we started taking loans from the IMF, and then they decided to take shares of the company and still giving away most of our shares, because Ruto also did the same thing. Remember, I also mentioned about it. So it's like these shares are being given by literally every regime that comes in. There's a few shares that are still being deducted to the point where Kenya will not fully own it. Because the fact that we're paying already so many billions of something that we don't benefit off from, these people, if we keep on taking, of course, money from them with these schemes, we're going to completely lose it. And we're going to be in the dark. We're going to be actually destroying ourselves, because at the end of the day, that's what white people want. It's not like they're doing this to live.
If you guys don't know, when I had Joe, we look at Gulf Power, because Gulf Power means the Gulf of Mexico. So since Florida is on the Gulf, that was the name of the power company in Florida. It's called Gulf Power because Florida sits on the Gulf. And when Joey said that Gulf Power, I said, what? This is the Florida Power Company. Going to Africa and say, yeah, and they talk, hey, we can go get some money from these goofy niggas in Africa. We just get there, still have their shit, and we don't got to really build nothing to make it work. Africa's used to having shit work, and we just steal money. Go ahead, Joey.
Crazy. But as we get into the last video of today, still of the same, because we can see these elites or entities that are benefiting off every, not just from electricity, but to everything, education, electricity.
Exactly.
There's a group of people that just benefits while we, the majority, suffer. So this actually video is breaking it all the way down, because I was reading an article which was saying that the global study has linked inequality being one of the worst pandemics outcomes. And I'm like, it's crazy with this global study bullshit, as if it's like they don't know we're living in a system of inequality. So it's all a scam, number one. Global study shows we've been living in inequality for the longest time. There's no balance, like in any sort of way. I was looking at another video of a lady who was talking about how there's a group of white men who are talking about, I think it's something to do with the women's health, either to do with fertility. I didn't listen so much, but it was like, it's crazy. We have a group of only men without even a woman in the presence talking about women's health. Like, how do you talk about women's health and you don't have a pussy, you don't have breasts, and pardon my language, and yet you're talking about my health? What am I supposed to take from you as a man? I should be part of the discussion for me to air out my opinion about my health. What should work for me, what should not work for me. And sadly, this is the problem why we have so many things that are not working for us, especially women, because we have a group of men always making decisions about our health without women in the presence. And even if there are women in the presence, again, the people have gotten the job positions Kamala Harris way. I love using that because it's true.
I don't know if a bunch of women got that. Kamala Harris did.
They are admitting nowadays, so it is true.
Okay.
Everyone says the economy is growing, the market is rising, corporate profits are holding, billionaire wealth is expanding. Governments still publish charts that point upward. Central banks still speak in careful language, and financial commentators still tell people to stay calm because the system is not collapsing. But ask ordinary people how the economy feels, and you get a very different answer. Rent is higher. Groceries are higher. Debt is more expensive. Insurance costs more. Childcare costs more. Jobs feel less secure. Saving money feels harder. Owning a home feels further away. Well, even stability has become a luxury product. So the question becomes unavoidable. If everyone is struggling, who's getting rich? Because money does not disappear in a crisis. It moves.
Yeah.
When inflation rises, someone's cost becomes someone else's revenue. When interest rates rise, someone's debt payment becomes someone else's income stream. When housing becomes unaffordable, one person's rent becomes another person's asset yield. When governments rescue markets, someone's risk becomes the public's responsibility. And when ordinary people are told to sacrifice while wealth keeps concentrating at the top, the issue stops being just economic. It becomes political. It becomes moral. It becomes dangerous. Welcome to the Financial Historian, and where money, power, and history collide.
Exactly, when you start having a revolution. Because this is what you happen now. The rich have stolen so much. These cats, this system globally has stolen so much fucking money, and left everybody impoverished. Like even you got the regular. All they're gonna save this now. System can't be changed. Revolution.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Joe.
And nothing is ever as simple as it looks. This is not a video about envy. It is not about saying rich people exist, therefore the system is broken. Wealth has existed in every society. Hierarchy has existed in every empire. The deeper question is what happens when the number of people struggling keeps growing while the number of people benefiting keeps shrinking.
Revolution.
That is when inequality becomes more than a statistic. It becomes a legitimacy crisis. People can tolerate hardship when they believe it is temporary. They can tolerate sacrifice when they believe it is shared. They can even tolerate inequality when they believe the game is still open. But when the game starts to feel rigged, when hardship feels permanent, and when the winners appear protected from the consequences everyone else has to absorb, something inside a society begins to crack. History is very clear about this. The economy does not have to collapse for people to lose faith in it. Sometimes it only has to keep working too well for the wrong people. Ancient Rome understood this long before modern economists had charts for it. The Roman Republic became powerful through conquest, trade, taxation, and land. To the outside world, Rome looked unstoppable. Its armies expanded across the Mediterranean. Wealth flowed into the capital. New territories meant new resources, new slaves, new contracts, new opportunities for the elite. But inside the Republic, the rewards of empire were not distributed evenly. Small farmers, who had once formed the backbone of Rome's citizen army, were pulled into long military campaigns. Many returned home to find their farms neglected, indebted, or lost. Meanwhile, wealthy aristocrats accumulated vast estates, often worked by enslaved labor captured in war. Rome was getting richer. Many Romans were not. That contradiction mattered. A republic that depended on citizen soldiers was slowly destroying the economic independence of those citizens. The upper classes gained land, influence, and political power. Ordinary Romans faced debt, displacement, and dependency. The Republic still had elections, laws, offices, rituals, and speeches about civic virtue. But beneath the marble language, the social contract was weakening. People began to see that Rome's expansion was not lifting all Romans. It was enriching a narrow class while making the rest more vulnerable. Then came the Gracchi brothers. In 133 BCE, Tiberius Gracchus pushed for land reform, trying to redistribute public land and restore some economic foundation to ordinary citizens. His brother Gaius later pushed broader reforms. These were not abstract policy debates. They were political explosions because they touched the deepest question in the Republic. Who was Rome actually for? The Senate saw reform as a threat to elite property and power. Violence followed. Tiberius was killed. Gaius was later driven to his death. The Republic survived for decades afterward, but something had changed. Political disagreement had crossed into political violence. Legitimacy had been wounded. Rome's lesson is simple and ugly. Growth can rot a system when the gains are captured and the costs are socialized. The Republic did not fall because it was poor. It fell after becoming rich in a way that hollowed out its own foundations. That is the part people miss. A society can expand, build, conquer, trade, and accumulate wealth, while the people who make the system possible are being squeezed out of meaningful ownership.
Every empire does this. Like America, you find the Roman Empire, you go to British Empire, the French Empire, the Dutch, all the same thing. They start hollowing out themselves. America is now hollowed out where the money's not worth it. Rome's money became worthless. They start making it out of gold because they couldn't afford the gold anymore. So they start making it out of damn like copper and tin. See, I hope he goes into that where the money was now worthless, like the American dollar. It's garbage because the only thing that's real wealth is gold. That's always in Africa. It wasn't no gold in Italy where these guys were getting rich. They were going to Africa stealing shit. Same way they always do. There wasn't no gold. Where did Rome get the gold from? They went to Africa to steal the shit and then enslave people. No. But then they start overextending. And they didn't care about the citizens, the people. Everybody was impoverished except the elite class. That's what you got going on now. And what happened to Rome? It fell. It had a revolution. It collapsed because it couldn't continue. This is what's going to happen now. This global system is corrupt. It's going to collapse. Go ahead, Joe.
On paper, it looks like success. On the ground, it feels like betrayal. More than 17 centuries later, France learned a similar lesson with bread instead of land. By the late 1700s, the French monarchy was drowning in debt. Wars had been expensive. The state had spent heavily, including on its support for the American Revolution. The royal finances were strained, the tax system was inefficient, and the burden fell heavily on the Third Estate. Peasants, workers, merchants, professionals, and commoners who made up the overwhelming majority of the population. Meanwhile, the nobility and clergy enjoyed privileges and exemptions that made the system look not just unequal, but insulting. Then came food pressure. Bad harvests in the late 1780s pushed bread prices higher, and bread was not just another grocery item. For ordinary French families, bread was survival. When bread became expensive, inflation was no longer an economic concept. It was breakfast disappearing from the table. A hungry population.
See the white people still in poverty as they start going off, leaving Europe to go steal everybody else shit. They still impoverished. So they're gonna overthrow their king. They're gonna chop his head off. Remember, Louis the 16th. They're gonna chop his fucking head. Louis the 16th to 17th. It was probably the 7th. They're gonna chop his head off and his wife's head off. So you're gonna get Napoleon. Go ahead, Joe.
Does not experience inflation as a statistic. It experiences it as betrayal. That is why the French Revolution was not caused by poverty alone. Poverty had existed before. Inequality had existed before. Hierarchy had existed before. What changed was the belief that sacrifice had become one-sided.
It was a level unsustainable because the people couldn't feed themselves, and you had the king of France talking about fuck them. Same way these politicians do, fuck them. So they didn't understand and say, hey, we can't feed ourselves, we're starving. So they had everything in revolution. Only thing Africa's revolution, because Africans are too calm and cowardly, right? So that's why Africans don't hardly have revolutions, because they're scared of everything, scared of dying. They rather live in a Canberra than die. Fuck that, I'd rather die living in that shit. So Prince said, enough is enough. It's time to go kill some people. Shit, it's starving. My stomach touching my backbone around here. Go ahead, Joe.
But privilege remained protected. The people were asked to carry the burden, but the old elite resisted surrendering advantage. When King Louis XVI called the Estates General in 1789, an institution that had not met since 1614, he was trying to solve a fiscal crisis. But once the door opened, the fiscal crisis became a political crisis. The state needed revenue. The people demanded representation. And once people began asking why they should pay for a system that excluded them, the old order could not easily put that question back in the box.
Yeah.
The French monarchy did not run out of money first. It ran out of legitimacy. Debt exposed the weakness. Bread inflation exposed the pain. Elite privilege exposed the hypocrisy. Together, they turned hardship into revolution. This is a pattern that appears again and again. People rarely revolt simply because life is hard. Life has been hard for most people through most of history. They revolt when hardship feels unnecessary, unfair, and protected by a system that refuses to reform itself. When the public is told to sacrifice while privilege remains untouched, reform starts sounding too polite. Rupture starts sounding logical. But history has an even darker chapter, because economic pain does not always produce liberty. Sometimes it produces something much more dangerous. The interwar period after World War I showed what happens when economic humiliation destroys trust in institutions faster than those institutions can repair daily life. Europe emerged from the war financially wounded, socially exhausted, and politically unstable. Germany faced reparations, debt, political fragmentation, a population that felt humiliated by defeat. In 1923, hyperinflation destroyed the German mark. Savings were wiped out. Middle-class security evaporated. People who had spent lives building modest stability watched money become meaningless. Then, after a brief period of stabilization, the Great Depression hit in 1929. Banks failed. Trade collapsed. Unemployment surged. Hope contracted. The sequence was devastating. First inflation destroyed savings. Then depression destroyed work. Then politics destroyed the center. That is the danger of prolonged economic insecurity. It does not stay in the financial system. It moves into identity, resentment, and fear.
Moves into the street. Starts to have moves into the streets, and people say, fuck this. What the hell am I living for? I can't eat, can't feed myself. Time to overthrow some shit. Time to go trying to put some bullets in people's heads around here. Or no politician talking crazy, but I can't feed my children. It causes revolution every time.
Not just for policies, but for targets. Who did this to us? Who betrayed us? Who is stealing our future? Authoritarian movements understand that question very well. They do not arrive at first.
Exactly, every time. Authoritarian movement, and most people are stupid. So you get a good person that can speak, and you reach people's you're digging at people's emotions. Most people are stupid. Most people are dummies. So you can easily move a crowd if you can emotionally speak and feed to their emotions of anger, angst. Yeah, who did this to it? Wasn't you? Blah, blah, blah. Start talking, and people are like, yeah, somebody's got to pay, God damn it. Ah! Because most people are stupid. That's why they keep people stupid. But sometimes the stupidity hurts you. It can come for you. Because most people in the world cannot reason. That's on purpose. I know Joby thinks critical thinking is normal. It's not. Most people can't critically think. That's how the system saves itself, so you can't figure out what the fuck is going on. Why are you impoverished? You can't think your way out of it. Go ahead, Joby.
Selling tyranny. They arrive selling order to people exhausted by chaos. They offer certainty when democratic institutions look slow. They offer enemies when economics feels confusing. They offer national restoration when daily life feels like decline. In Germany, the Nazi Party did not rise because every supporter had read economic theory. It rose because millions of people believed the existing system had humiliated them, impoverished them, lied to them, and failed to protect them. The Great Depression became political fuel. Economic pain became dangerous because someone...
See, and understand this AI bullshit. Understand the thing. Germany was upset because it was losing its colonies in Africa. Remember, they were getting kicked out of Tanzania, Namibia. It's nothing. They were losing their money, their wealth. I'm white, God damn it. See, these goofy things ain't gonna tell you that, the real truth. I'm white. How the fuck am I poor? And these other white countries got African, give them wealth. Where's my fucking wealth at? Understand this. You get it? They lost Namibia. We still got Germans in Namibia who commit genocide, still own the majority of the land. They was in Tanzania. What they call it? They had Namibia, Tanzania. What else did Germany have? Oh, Cameroon was German. What else? Because they remember they stripped them of all their African colonies too. After World War I, they were already mad because in Berlin, even though it was held in Germany, the Germans felt they got skipped and not be able to control more of these niggas. You don't ever teach that real truth. Germany got mad because how the British and the French get more niggas and more money to rule with these backward ass niggas, right? So after World War I, and Germany lost that war, they went into abject poverty, and also not only Germany had to pay reparations to France and Britain and Denmark and the Netherlands, and all of them, they lost their African wealth, right? So they lost Tanzania. I think the British got Tanzania. Who got whatever they goofy call? I forgot all the damn German colonies. And so that's why you see in World War II, where does Germany go? They go right back into Africa, trying to steal all of northern Africa. They go back, trying to steal all the northern part of Africa, from Egypt, Algeria, Libya. The Germans trying to go steal all that shit. Goofy fucking even white Arabs are gonna be under us, the real white people. They're gonna get the rest of Africa, steal all this shit. So that's what they'll never teach you that. See, their wealth. Remember, Europe has no wealth. Europe has no resources. Nothing. Everybody openly tell you in these TikTok, well, why should we give it to these niggas? You guys are stupid. You weren't doing nothing with your land. You weren't doing nothing with your money and your resources. So don't get mad. We come steal. You didn't know how to use it. So we came and took it from you because you're stupid. That's what they tell you on TikTok. It's crazy. Go ahead.
One gave it a target. This is not to say that every period of inflation or inequality leads to dictatorship. History is not a vending machine where you insert unemployment and receive authoritarianism. But it does show that when large numbers of people lose faith in the fairness and competence of the system, they become more willing to trade normal politics for promises of protection, punishment, and control. When money fails, politics becomes unstable. When work disappears, democracy starts to feel negotiable. And when ordinary people believe the system has become a machine for insiders, they stop asking how to improve it and start asking who can break it. That is why the modern era matters so much. Because after the financial crisis of 2008, the world received a very clear lesson in who gets rescued and who gets lectured. The crisis began in the housing and financial system, where years of cheap credit, complex mortgage products...
They started, right? So they started to scam, and they realized we fucked up. We stole so much money that we're about to bring down... in America, they're about to bring down the global economy. They said, we're going to bring down the global economy. But who gets saved? Not the regular people that they stole from, the rich people that made the stealing. The same people that stole the money got the money to save it, because they kept, if we don't do this, the whole world economy is going to go under. At the end of the world, you don't want that. We Mad Max on steroids. That's all Mad Max. So instead of them taking a hit from them destroying the world economy, they got bailed out. And everybody else got thrown out of money. Go ahead, Chuck.
Leverage, speculation, and weak oversight created a structure that looked profitable until it suddenly looked suicidal. When the crash came, governments and central banks moved quickly to stabilize the financial system. Banks were rescued, liquidity was injected, interest rates were slashed, emergency programs were created. The official argument was that this had to happen because if the banking system collapsed, everyone would suffer. And there was truth in that. A full financial collapse would have been catastrophic. But the public saw something else too. They saw institutions that helped create the disaster treated as systemically important, while families losing homes were treated as...
The institutions that created the shit from stealing, they created this. They the ones did this. Rich people did this. And they said, okay, yeah, we did it, so what? We're going to steal some more money so we can save the system. Everybody else got fucked up. And guess who was behind doing this? Oh, Barack Obama, no good retarded ass. Barack Obama. Barack Obama didn't go after the people that did this. They didn't get no jail time. They didn't suffer. They got more money stolen from the people. That's why they put his puppet ass in there. Barack Obama went after nobody. None of them. Went to prison. No one got a bullet. None of that. That's why they put his ass in power. Go ahead, Joe.
Individually unfortunate. They saw bankers rescued because they were connected to the structure, while households were expected to absorb foreclosure, unemployment, lost savings, and years of insecurity. Exactly. When banks fail, it is called systemic risk. When families fail, it is called personal responsibility. Nothing says stable system like needing to save the people who insisted they understood risk better than everyone else. The aftermath deepened the split. Low interest rates and central bank stimulus helped stabilize markets, but they also inflated asset prices. Stocks recovered, real estate recovered, financial assets rose. People who already owned assets benefited from the recovery. People who had lost homes, jobs, or savings watched the latter move higher. If you owned the asset economy, the recovery was real.
When this happens, this is funny. This affected me personally because when Obama didn't do what was right, my company went out of business and I was fucked up. Remember, I had all these kids. So my company went out of business. I was jobless for the first time, I think, in my life. Ain't never been without a job in my life. First time I'm out of work. And then I start experiencing straight disrespect. I'm like, what? What? I experienced disrespect on a level I never thought I would ever happen. I was like, what? So this, I know everybody, if anybody's been around 2,000 years adult, you know this. If you were lucky, it didn't affect you personally, but most people got affected by this because most businesses went under, and mine went under. And I was out of work, and I was told I was a shiftless, no good, dirty black bum. Yeah. That's what I was told. I was no good, shiftless, don't got no work, so I don't deserve to be respected. You know, bills are coming in, I can't pay them. So now I'm all fucked up, not worthy to be loved. Go ahead, Joey.
Lived in the paycheck economy. The recovery was slower, thinner, and often invisible.
Exactly.
That is one of the most important ideas in financial education. There is not...
And my paycheck was gone, so I'm a bum-ass nigga.
Not one economy. There is the economy of owners and the economy of earners. The asset economy moves through stocks, bonds, property, businesses, private equity, commodities, and financial instruments. The paycheck economy moves through wages, rent, bills, debt, and job security. The asset economy can boom while the paycheck economy breaks. Exactly. A rising market does not always mean a rising society. Sometimes it only means the people who own the market are doing fine. That split is still with us. In the 2020s, inflation returned with force. Governments and central banks talked about inflation rates, but ordinary people lived through prices. And those are not the same thing. When inflation cools from its peak, prices do not magically return to where they were. Groceries remain expensive, rent remains high, insurance remains painful, energy shocks still move through supply chains, debt remains more expensive after rate hikes. The household does not experience macroeconomic stabilization as a line chart. It experiences it as the monthly calculation of what can be postponed, canceled, refinanced, or quietly endured. Inflation is not just a price problem, it is a power problem. It does not hurt everyone equally. If you live on wages that fail to keep up, inflation reduces your real income. If you rent, inflation can arrive through housing costs you do not control. If you hold cash savings, inflation erodes purchasing power. But if you own scarce assets, have pricing power, control rents, own energy exposure, or operate in sectors that can pass costs along, inflation can protect or even expand your position. The same price shock that crushes one household can strengthen another balance sheet. Debt works the same way. For one household, a higher interest payment is stress. For the financial system, it is revenue. A credit card balance, a mortgage renewal, a car loan, a student loan, a business loan, each one is a claim on future income. Debt is not just money owed. It is tomorrow's labor already promised to someone else. When rates rise, borrowers feel pressure. Lenders collect payment. Again, money does not disappear. It moves. And this is where the political danger begins. Because if enough people feel squeezed while enough institutions remain profitable, the public starts noticing the asymmetry. Banks report earnings while households fall behind. Landlords collect higher rents while renters lose hope of ownership. Corporations raise prices while wages lag. Governments say inflation is moderating while families still cannot rebuild savings. Billionaire wealth expands while ordinary people are told to be patient, disciplined, realistic, and financially responsible. There's always a moral lecture available for those least able to escape the structure. The modern economy increasingly feels like a sorting machine. People with assets, low debt, stable income, and access to capital can ride volatility. People without those advantages absorb it. The same crisis that creates bargains for the wealthy creates emergencies for the poor. The same high interest rate that rewards savers and lenders punishes variable rate borrowers. The same housing shortage that enriches owners traps renters. The same AI boom that excites investors creates anxiety for workers wondering whether their job is about to become a line item in someone else's efficiency plan. This does not mean everyone with wealth is evil or everyone struggling is virtuous. That would be comforting, but too simple. The deeper issue is structural. Systems produce incentives. Incentives produce outcomes. Outcomes produce politics. And when the outcomes become too visibly one-sided, trust starts to decay. People do not lose faith in a system because inequality exists. They lose faith when inequality starts to feel engineered. That is the thread connecting Rome, France, interwar Europe, 2008, and today. In each case, the crisis was not only that people suffered. People have always suffered. The crisis was that suffering exposed the structure. In Rome, conquest enriched elites while citizens lost land. In France, debt and bread inflation revealed the absurdity of protected privilege. In interwar Europe, inflation and unemployment turned institutional weakness into political extremism. In 2008, the rescue of the financial center taught millions that stability meant saving the system first and people second. Today, inflation, debt, asset ownership, and political protection are again forcing people to ask who the economy actually serves. The answer is uncomfortable. The economy is not failing evenly. It is separating. And separation is dangerous because societies are not held together by GDP. They are held together by belief. Belief that work leads somewhere. Belief that sacrifice is shared. Belief that rules apply upward as well as downward. Belief that the future is not already owned by someone else. Once that belief fades, the numbers can still look fine for a while. Markets can rise, growth can continue, luxury spending can thrive, asset prices can climb. Officials can say the system is resilient, but underneath, something more important can be weakening. Legitimacy does not always collapse in a single dramatic moment. Sometimes it erodes quietly, bill by bill, rent increase by rent increase, bailout by bailout, until people no longer believe the economy is a shared system at all. And that is the real warning from history. The danger is not simply that some people get rich. The danger is when the system needs everyone else to struggle so that wealth can keep moving upward. The danger is when hardship becomes permanent for many, profitable for some, and politically useful for those who know how to weaponize it. So if everyone is struggling, who is getting rich? The honest answer is those positioned closest to ownership, credit, pricing power, political access, and rescue. Asset owners, creditors, monopolies, strategic industries, financial institutions, insiders who understand that crisis is not only a disaster, it is also a transfer. But the bigger question is not who benefits today. The bigger question is what happens tomorrow when everyone else starts to notice. History's answer is not comforting.
Exactly. History is not really, it's not comforting. History is there's a lot we learn from history, and that's why I said even from the previous video, when you look at many things, it's the same patterns, different people, same patterns. There's nothing that ever changes. And
the term is called "There's nothing new under the sun."
yeah, and sadly, it's globally. It's not just actually Africa, but it's globally. We have that problem through our political system. But that has been my time this particular morning. Wishing you guys a beautiful morning. And of course, we're coming back with the Rhythm Scoop Show every Monday and Friday. We have the Rhythm Scoop Show. So after this, if in case you can join us, join me and Shmani as we talk about arts, entertainment, and culture and what has been happening during the weekend. As we check on that, and later on, we have the Africa Today show. But thank you so much for joining. To the silent listeners, Keith, John Mosquito, and Byron Scott. Your closing remarks for invading my show?
A closing remark is learn to live in love and not xenophobia.
Yeah.
That's it. I guess that's it. I guess that's about it. See everybody this afternoon.
All right. Much love, family. Peace.